later, Gervonta Davis gets jabbed in the eye, brings the fight to a standstill to get help from his corner, and blames the entire debacle on a hair appointment.
That's why you took a knee. The grease was in your eye.
Stop the cap!
Okay.
You ain't gonna win, they ain't gonna give it to you, is what Gervonta Davis said to Lamont Roach in the 12th round. And he was right.
So boom, Big Rowdy HKJ3. Today we have how Gervonta Davis trashed his career. And we all know recently in this recent fight, when he took that knee, that's against the boxing rules. That's not the nitty-gritty of boxing. That's not what we do in that sport. People were upset. It was a controversial knee. Let's see, man. Oh, man.
Was that a knockdown? Lamont Roach landed a punch, Gervonta Davis took a knee, and the referee started the count. Those are all facts. But after a bizarre, incompetent, seemingly corrupt sequence of events, there would be no knockdown called. No life-changing upset for the underdog, and no satisfaction for the fans. Roach got robbed, and now that the dust has settled, we have to ask ourselves, how good is Tank Davis really? Years of weight draining, cherry picking, and bare minimum activity may have finally caught up to him. And after blaming his performance on his hair, even his biggest fans are disappointed. Gervonta Davis has damaged his reputation.
You talking about some grease. The grease was in your eye? That's why you took a knee. The grease was in your eye. Okay.
But it's not just his own legacy that's been hurt. We might have to embrace the uncomfortable fact that the face of boxing is bad for boxing. Round, blind. Midway through his first title fight, 22-year-old Cassius Clay felt an acidic sting in his eyes. Chemicals applied to his opponent's cuts had leaked onto his face, and he entered the 5th round with effectively no vision. Ali later recalled that he could only see a faint shadow charging at him, surviving Sonny Liston's aggression by...
He did not have the say-so or sway to take a knee. He probably did back then. He definitely did, but that was not the sport of boxing. Taking a knee. It's like me playing football. I'm like, hold on, bro. I run and play. In the middle of play, I'm like, wait, bro, wait. I hurt my shoulder. Hold on. It doesn't work like that. Can't do it.
By circling the champ on pure instinct.
We don't like it.
But Clay survived long enough to clear his sight, dominate the next round, and, well, the rest is history. It's how the greatest of all time dealt with adversity. Now, 62 years later, Gervonta Davis gets jabbed in the eye, brings the fight to a standstill to get help from his corner, and blames the entire debacle on a hair appointment. Tank essentially called a timeout. No repercussions, no points deducted. It brings to the surface an ugly truth about our favorite fighters and our beloved sport. One of the sad but universally accepted aspects of boxing is that superstars get preferential treatment. From the promotion to the referee and even the judges, the A side will always get the benefit of the doubt. It's been this way as long as money and boxing have been intertwined. Once you transcend the sport and get the pay-per-view machine behind you, it is very hard to lose a boxing match, regardless of what happens in the fight. Maybe the referee rules your knockdown as a slip, or enforces the rules in a way that caters to your fighting style. Maybe the judges score every swing round in your favor. Davis and many other fighters have benefited from this unfortunate aspect of boxing culture. This, of course, ironically comes on the heels of Tank directly criticizing Turki Al-Sheikh and Saudi-financed boxing, claiming that they're corrupt and that he would never win a decision outside of America. Now, Turki and Riyadh's season are not above criticism. They're actually far from perfect.
I'm not mad at them. Home field advantage. We take a home field advantage. Stay in America where we can get this bread and we know all these corporate people, we straight. We can't go to Saudi. We can get the money, but we're not gonna win out there.
But they're making the biggest, best fights that Davis seems to be allergic to. Though it is important to note that none of this is inherently Tank's fault. He doesn't control the referee, score the fight, or set the betting lines. His job is to box. But it doesn't absolve him from what he can control. Talking to his corner during the fight, employing dirty tactics, and making lame excuses. It highlights the difference in the mindset between a good fighter and a great fighter. When Naoya Inoue had his eyes compromised, he didn't have the luxury of calling a timeout. Plagued with double vision, the Japanese champion just blocked the bad eye with his glove and fought on. Very few boxers can get away with what Davis did, and on the biggest stage, the self-proclaimed face of boxing made boxing look bad. "You ain't gonna win, they ain't gonna give it to you," is what Gervonta Davis said to Lamont Roach in the 12th round. And he was right. The judges scored it a majority decision draw, with one card having Davis winning by a round. But it was effectively already over just halfway through. Two judges gave Davis 5 of the first 6 rounds, completely ignoring Roach's aggression in the first half and ensuring he would have to fight flawlessly in the second half. Roach landed more punches than Davis in 7 of the 12 rounds, and outlanded the champion in aggregate. He took Tank's best punch better than Tank took his best punch, and it's clear that, unlike many of Gervonta's previous opponents, Lamont Roach didn't just show up for a check and lie down. He came to win. Perhaps it was their familiarity from the amateurs, but Roach was simply not afraid. He didn't let Tank land his deadly left hand and was the first to properly stagger the undefeated star, all in his lightweight debut. The threat of an actual challenge made it one of Tank's most interesting fights, but the action was overshadowed by the controversy. Roach landed more punches according to CompuBox, controlled the fight according to Jabber AI, and edged the victory on most of the media's scorecards. But you wouldn't think so if you listened to the broadcast team's commentary or watched the official highlights on YouTube. In fact, 2 of the judges gave the kneeling round to Davis. Tank didn't win, Roach couldn't win, and the fans left feeling frustrated. Davis may have lost his unblemished record, but I think the real damage is to the sport's integrity. From the referees stopping the count, to the supposed technical issue that prevented instant replay, to the WBA walking back their opinion on the knockdown, to the New York State Athletic Commission ignoring Tank's disqualifiable offenses, boxing didn't exactly shine in its last outing. If you're a hardcore fan, this is just another chapter of Davis's wasted potential. If you're watching as a UFC fan, this performance is an embarrassment to the entire sport. And perhaps worst of all, if you're a prospective, casual, brand new fan and dropped $80 on the pay-per-view, you're never watching boxing again. But in the midst of controversy, there's still a silver lining to be found. Lamont Roach had a coming out party. He put the boxing world on notice and made Tank look vulnerable. And while Davis had his most disappointing night, sometimes it takes a bad performance to wake you up. Before this fight, he had retirement on the mind. But now that he's been humbled, we could see a Tank that's hungrier and better than ever. Gervonta Davis had the potential to be boxing's next superstar. A fighter who transcends the ring with Mayweather's skill and Pacquiao's explosiveness. But his window is rapidly closing and his commitment to the sport remains in question. Is this the beginning of the end? Or will Davis finally prove how great he claims to be?